Alright, this is the Aeneid Book 2. We're going to start in line 289, where Hector begins to talk to Aeneas in this dream that Aeneas is having. He's basically ignoring everything that Aeneas has been saying, and he gives him instructions about what to do now that Troy is being sacked by the Greeks who have come out of the Trojan horse. So, heu fuge nate dea te que his ait eripe flammis. We'll start with ait. Ait is a great word. It sounds really funny in English. It's just another way to say he says. So that sets up our open quotes. Because Hector is speaking to Aeneas, we have some vocatives. Nate is vocative. It's the vocative of natus. Natus just means born. And so he's not saying a name so much as he's giving Aeneas kind of like an epithet, a description. He says he's born Dea, from a goddess. Dea would be ablative of origin. That just says his origin. So he's born from a goddess. And what he says is, heu fuge. And heu is very onomatopoetic, right? It's just, oh, hey. So this is, and then fuge, flee. So don't fight. And this is really against Aeneas's instinct. He is a wonderful warrior. He's very brave. He's very patriotic. He wants to protect his city and his family. Aeneas, we're going to skip a lot of part after this section. Aeneas really, really wants to fight. And he struggles against this fate. He's fated to leave and found another city. And this is a very thematic part of the Aeneid altogether. Aeneas has a fate. He often does not want to follow his fate, but fate is not something that you can fight against. You are committed to it. And even the gods, like Juno, she knows that Aeneas is fated to found Rome. She can't change that. Even the gods and goddesses are subject to fate. Fate is above all other things. And so this is Aeneas sort of receiving the message of his fate. Flee. Teque his eripe flammis. So we have another imperative. Fuge is an imperative, flee, from fugio fugere. And eripe, it sounds a lot like to rip something away. That a is the a out. Sort of take away te, yourself. And then we have an ablative of separation that goes with your eripe, his flammis, from these flames. So flee and take yourself away from these flames. Sort of, O person born from a goddess. Hostis habet moros. And this is like the most straightforward sentence in the Aeneid. The enemy has the walls. Right? The enemy has taken the walls of the city, is what that means. So hostis is your nominative, and then moros is accusative plural. Os is pretty normal. Hostis is different from inimicus, in that a hostis is like a political enemy, so the Greeks are the hostis of the Trojans. And inimicus is a personal enemy. So like if there's someone in your chemistry class who steals your pencils all the time, they would be your inimicus, as opposed to hostis, which is like the Russians in the Cold War were the hostis of America, which is, it's kind of a grander idea. Ruit alto a culmine Troia. Troia is your nominative, so it's doing the ruiting. And then we have this sort of ablative direction away with our a. Rua, ruere often has this like a direction away, right? Something's falling from some other place. Alto is ablative and culmine is ablative. So one of the tricks in Latin is that when you have a preposition like a, you're always looking for the thing the preposition goes with. It helps you sort of frame your sentence up when we talk about like doing things in chunks. So a prepositional phrase is a good chunk. And normally, like in Caesar, the thing that goes with the preposition comes directly after it. But especially with ablatives, you have to be careful. Sometimes there will be a word right before the preposition. Usually it's the adjective. We do this in English. When you graduate from high school, you can graduate like magna cum laude, summa cum laude. Cum is the preposition, and then before the preposition we have the adjective that actually describes the noun. That's what's happening here. We've seen it a lot. I haven't really talked about it. So it's kind of like a little trick of your mind. You expect the ablative to go with the thing directly after it, but especially in poetry, and especially with certain kinds of ablative phrases, you need to look before it too and say, well, is that word an ablative? So alto would have a long O if we scanned this. Actually, it would align with the A, but it would be long. And alto describes the culmine. Culmine, we get the word like culmination, right? We're going to culminate our study of Latin with reading the Aeneid. It's like the peak of the study. So Troy is falling from its high peak. This idea of cities are built on hills, so it's like literally on a high peak, but metaphorically it's sort of rushing down. It's being destroyed. Sat patriae priamoque datum. First, Priam is the king of Troy. He's Hector's father. Yeah. Okay, sat comes from satis. Satis means enough, and we get like satisfy, satiate, insatiable from sat. And then datum is our verb. We're missing an est. I'm making a video for you right now. So that's our verb. So enough, and you have to make that passive, has been given. And with the verb datum, you're always going to look for a dative, and dative actually comes from the word datum. So something's been given to someone, to patriae priamoque. So to the fatherland and to Priam. So sort of their lot in life is done. That's all they have. Enough has been given, now it's the end. Si Pergama dextra defendi possent, etiam hoc defensa fuissent. So we have a conditional here with subjunctives, possent and fuissent. So anytime you have a conditional with subjunctive, it means it's contrary to fact. So if something could have happened, this other thing could have happened, but it didn't happen. Dextra would have a long A, and it's ablative. So Pergama is our nominative, and it's actually plural. A lot of cities are plural, like Athens and Pompeii. It's this idea of multiplicity, right? A city is full of many houses and many people and, many places. So if Pergamum, which is Troy, was able, and then we have a passive infinitive, defendi, so not to defend, but to be defended, and then we have our ablative, by something. So dexter refers to Hector's right hand, so like if he could have defended it with his right hand. So if Troy was able to be defended by a right hand, it would have been defended, and then etiam you can take as like an even by this one, so by Hector's hand. And then because that's subjunctive, we can tell it couldn't have been defended, and it wasn't. So Hector's telling Aeneas, right, there's nothing Aeneas can do. Aeneas cannot win the war single-handedly. Sacra suosque tibi commendat Troia penatis. So tibi is obviously dative, and then commendat is our verb, and Troia is our nominative. Sacra, suosque, penates are all accusatives, and suos and penates go together. So Troy entrusts to you the sacra things and suos penates. And the book says for sacra, you say like sacred emblems, statues. It's really like the sacred things. And her penates. So the penates are the gods of the house, the household gods, like the lares and the penates are similar. And Aeneas is famously depicted in lots of paintings and coins and all sorts of depictions. When he leaves Troy, he holds his son's hand, and he's kind of dragging him along. He's got his father on his shoulders, because he's an old man, so he's like dragging him along. And either his father's holding the penates, or Aeneas has also like got his penates in his hands. And that's how Aeneas flees, with his son at his hand and his father on his shoulder and the penates. And he's going to use those to establish a new city. So without the penates, he could establish a new city, but it's not necessarily going to be a new Troy. So the penates are going to make it Trojan. Hos cape fatorum comites. So you have some more infinitives, because Hector's telling him what to do. Hos goes, and comites are both accusative, and the book tells you comites is in apposition to hos. So it's like these things as comrades. So take these things as comrades of your fate, right? The penates and the sacred emblems of Troy. His moenia quaere magna per eratos statues quae denique ponto. We have another infinitive, quaere. His is dative, and moenia and magna go together. So for these things, right, for the penates and the sacred things, look for great walls, like search out great walls. Per erato and ponto are an ablative absolute. And when you translate this quae, which introduces a relative clause, you're going to do it before statues. The book kind of rearranges the words for you, so you can see what it would be like. With the sea having been wandered through is your ablative absolute. And it'd probably be better to take that at the end, like the book has it when it's rearranged the words. So we can take our relative clause first, which you will establish finally, and we can take our ablative, with the sea having been wandered through. So look for walls which you're going to set up after you've wandered a long time. Sic ait et manibus vitas vestamque potentem aeternumque aditis affert penetralibus ignem. Right. Thus he spoke. And so in this last part, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Our verb is effert. And we have some accusatives. Vitas is accusative. Vestam potentem is accusative, and it goes together. Aeternum and ignem make an enclosed line, and they go together. And then we also have some ablatives. We have manibus, aditus, and penetralibus. Aditus and penetralibus go together. So effert is ex and ferofere. So to bring out, to carry forth, to lift out. So he says these things, and he lifts out, he takes out vita are garlands or bands. It's often, and we saw them like with Laocoon, he had a sort of headband that was soaked in blood. This would be something that a priest would wear. So he takes out the garlands, you can say with his hands or in his hands, and powerful Vesta, mighty Vesta, and the eternal flame, and all of these things he takes out from the innermost shrine. So it's that idea of these are the sacred things that Aeneas is supposed to take with him on his journey and use to found a new Troy.